Oh, we're live. Hey, let me know when we go live.
We're live.
Cool.
We're always
Go on, gang. Tony pops in just in time. Tony had to go move the forklift out off the diamond plating. Hey, today's a great show. This is something I always love talking about. The cool part is it affects everybody, all different sectors and genres of the. Obviously, right now we're going to talk about capacity today, and not just capacity, but just its effects and the different types of even capacity crunches that you see and dilemmas. So the cool part is you look at right now the capacity in that canal over there that Tony was sharing the other day. There's not much capacity there, man, because some sort of
one
there. Yeah, he tried to go in for a skeet landing. That's what they call it. My buddy flies plane. We used to fly a plane up to Detroit, visit customers and stuff, and he'd come in. We were coming in one time way too high. He's like, we're coming in too high. So I can't, we're coming in too fast because we came in from too high. I'm like, well, what the hell? This is like my fourth time ever flying. And we're just sitting in this like prop plane. And he's like, I have to do a skeet landing. I'm like, what? It turns it sideways right before we land, and then gradually brings it forward, and then we land. It was scary, but they tried to do that with a giant container ship in the canal, and it didn't work. So low capacity there, but no, I mean, I always like starting it off with a little bit of a Tony take is what I call it. Get a little bit of shipper side of things on how much just, obviously capacity right now is a problem with everybody. It's kind of a root problem that kind of feeds into other things. But what are you seeing from that end, Tony?
Well, capacity's there. There's the same number of trucks out there running than when there was tons of capacity back in March of last year. There's probably more trucks out there, actually, because people realize that right now there's an up market and there's tons of money to be made. What you have as far as capacity is people without relationships and people without price don't have capacity. If you're shipping garbage, if you're paying garbage, if you have relationship garbage, that's the same capacity you have. The people that have capacity are the ones that have those relationships established. You don't have to pay extra to get capacity. You can. That's one way you can buy capacity, but you can have capacity without paying more.
That's a good point. So I put that post out the other day talking about that.
I like that.
It was
buy capacity.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, because that's true though, because just like in anything in life, right? You could either work for it or you can just buy it, right? And you figure out one way to get it, or you can pay for it. All right. I mean, anything in life. And so there's like,
it's like the ugly dude. It's like the ugly dude that thinks he's the hot shit, but he has to pay for his girlfriend, right? Because he's got a shitty attitude. It's like,
he wears like the denim button up and the long hair with the headphones. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You're so funny.
Just kidding. Hey, no, but no. What I'm saying is that we were always refer to capacity as like it's just a thing that like anybody can just go out and get, like it just exists out there in the atmosphere. But the true capacity, right? Committed capacity, right? You create it yourself. You can create your own capacity. Whether or not you're a shipper and you go out and buy yourself more trucks, literally, or Tony, say you've got your own personal fleet, right? In your recruiting efforts, maybe what you're doing on that end, but also just as a broker, even the relationships you're building, and like I said before, building your own, literally making a relationship with a carrier enough to where you're feeding them enough business so they can buy more trucks, right? You're creating your own capacity. I don't know. I think you kind of go to who has it, right? And if you're a shipper, there's different ways you can go with it too, right? You can make a good relationship with a broker that does that, right? And get on board with that. You can keep it in multiple levels so that everybody benefits from it. But I think Tony's right. Like, I've talked to Tony plenty of times about trucks and when freight was cheap and whatnot, and he had guys that were committed to prices, but he was going out to lunch with the guy, right? And he was having a relationship with him and saying, hey, when the times are hard, I'm going to give you the same rate. When rates are down, I'm still going to pay you the same rate, and help you on that end. I got to have you on this. And it has conversations with him and is actually strategizing rather than saying, I don't have time. I'm just going to pay for it.
Right. And that comes back around. Those guys remember that. And then when it tightens up and there's no capacity and everyone's screaming and hollering and asking for help, some of us have it. Some of us don't.
And and what it does is it gives you that A little bit of effort, because like a lot of times you can have like a plan or strategy to do that, right? But then like just in general, like you think about it, like my owners or anybody else would not know that or understand it because they're thinking different, right? So when they come to me and say, hey, these rates here for this, like we're not making a lot of money on this or whatever, and that's when you can, because you have a relationship with them, you have their back. Like, hey, listen, I get it, but this guy took care of us, back during here. This is a strategy I've got, and it just gives you that conversation how to have with everybody on what, everybody's on the same page on what's happening, what we're doing.
Let me tell you a secret. We're in a capacity crunch and record rates, right? Nothing new there. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
When you have those relationships and you have a smart overall plan and a plan that's put together and done intentionally without rate shopping, you can actually save money in this time. I know a guy.
20%.
So I just say this, like, I mean, I think I posted it yesterday, but control what you can control, right? And I think that goes on with anything, right? It's you can't control the market. No one can, I mean, let's face it. I've been in you guys probably have tons of, experience on me, but it's like, since I've been in 8 years ago, it's like, it's always the same thing. There's always shit happening, right? It's like, what can you control? Well, I can't control the rates, control the rates to some degree, right? But let's face it, that's not the most controllable thing. I can't control that, COVID happened. I can't control any type of mass issue that's going to happen, right? But I can control the way I go about things so I can provide, a solution or multiple solutions to my customer so that when these times do happen, we can pivot and make changes when necessary, right? And that, I think that goes, it just goes back to, again, control what you can control. And I think a lot of people, like you said, you're going to get people that, again, are transactional and they're paying for it, right? It's, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. I don't care.
You
it doesn't matter what.
You get monkeys. I love that.
At the end of the day, it's true, right? It's like, listen, you're the company that didn't look at this thing 10,000 feet up. You decided to, treat everybody like they were just a rate. Well, now, guess what? Capacity's never been a real, it's an issue, but it's like, dude, you're not getting it because you're not getting capacity, or you're not getting the truck because you're a piece of shit. I mean, it's just the truth. So I think broker side though. Sorry, yeah. So on the broker side, it's like, listen, I thought about it today, and it's like, we often see so many people on our end, right? Not Tony's end, but like our end, TJ, where it's like a lot of people talk about, I call it a sheep mentality, right? A sheep mentality is like, let's put blame. Let's talk about the uncontrollables, right? Yep. And let's never really offer a solution. Like, yeah, we can talk till we're blue in the face and scare. Yep. That's the biggest thing is we're scaring organizations into thinking this. We're training them to think like, oh my God, it's a capacity thing. Like, I'll get questions asked to me and I'm like, listen, don't listen to everything you hear on LinkedIn. But it's like these people that are posting it, they're not really ever taking any initiative to say, hey, this is happening. So it's like a shepherd mentality I look at is, hey, listen, this is what it is. I can't control this. They're literally going to inform the customer and then figure out a way to pivot and bring a solution to get shit done, right? It's not about like, so it's like, that's the type of, you got to ask yourself, because shit's always hitting the fan, right? With, especially in transportation, logistics. Do you want a sheep as a provider? Do you want your vendors that are moving probably one of your most top line items to be a sheep or a shepherd? That's what you got to ask.
I've said that. I've agreed with that, Mike. And I think that's maybe, how we kind of connect. I touched on that, even back to, during COVID when there was the rate debates. I always said, everybody that's out there complaining, like the time that you take to go out and post on LinkedIn and bitch about the rates and complain about this, you could be using it to pick up the phone and call a shipper, right? Pick up the phone and dial, make some cold calls, figure out a strategy. And I was on
post about it, post a solution at least.
Yeah, I was on Freight 360 the other day, and Ben, who's very smart, he said, he goes, it's times like these, where the good brokers set themselves apart from the bad ones. And I said, Ben, I think you're right, but that's not my mentality. That you should already have yourself set apart. This just exposes who's good or not. Now's not the time to set yourself apart. Like in the good times, I'm preparing for the bad times. In the bad times, I'm preparing for the good times, right? So if all this did was expose those who weren't ready, who didn't have a strategy, who didn't have a foundation, who didn't have any type of mentality. And then it also exposed those who, when it did happen, was either a cow or a buffalo. See, I used the buffalo example, right? When a storm comes in, right, on the plains, out on the plains, cows, they gather in a group, they turn their back to it, they huddle in, and they wear out the storm. But what buffalo do is they get in the herd and they charge directly into it, and they run straight through it because they know they're going to get hit either way, right? But they'd rather take it head on and get through it quickly and not have to take it for nearly as long. And I think that's one big thing that people do. They either sit and they see something bad coming and start complaining, or they say, all right, boom, time to think. Let's sit down. Let's think about what we're going to do. What's our strategy? Where we're going? What are we doing? Not go complain about it and blame it on what you're doing is you're looking for something to, right? I wasn't prepared. So what can I wasn't prepared. So I don't want people knowing that. So, it's because of this. It's because of that. It's because of COVID. It's because of that.
Or it's just, I mean, dude, it goes back to, I always say this, I look at it as like prepping for war, right? And I know that's to an extreme, but it's like, I talk to my customers and it's like, remember that time when I said, hey, listen, and now they do business with me. And it's like, I wanted you to sit down, really look at this thing high level, build out a strategy. I said that we were prepping for war, right? And now we're in battle. I know it's not, that's extreme, but think about it. It's like this, again, when shit hit the fan and there's issues that are going on, obviously within the entire industry of transportation, we're prepared for it. Are we having issues? 100%. Yep. But guess what? We're not scrambling. When shit hits the fan, you want to all be on the same page, all calm, and have your shit already buttoned up to where it's a lot easier to be, make a pivot and change and with the market versus, again, and it's sad, but it's like most people right now are scrambling because they didn't ever have a strategy put in place prior to this, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to go on a vacation in 20 days. I want to lose 30 pounds. Well, you probably knew about that vacation, right? A year ago, you should have prepped for it, right? Or you probably knew summer comes in June, right? Just like the market, I'm not saying COVID, but the market's always going to have some issue in it at least once a year. So you should have prepped for it prior, forecasting, whatever it may be. And that's, again, people are now trying to crash diet. Everybody wants to build relationships now. And it's just like, dude, told you.
And I always found relationships but I'm sorry, but until you get trust, right, which is what all relationships are based on, people like you when you can do something for them. If you bring 100%. Something to the table, right? Like if you can make their life easier in some way. And so, one big thing I've always said is people always talk when you're doing sales, when you're reaching out to prospective customers, how do you set yourself apart, right? How do you set yourself apart from anybody else? Well, I think just in general with any, if I'm already set up, say, how do I set myself apart from all the other providers they have? That main thing is how, like what you said, how do I handle situations, right? Because the biggest thing is they all know that situations happen. They all happen. That's part of trucking until you realize that's just part of it. Now it comes down to, because they know it happens, who handles it the best, who helps me out, who makes my job easier, right? So that a lot of times when I'm talking to prospective customers, to set myself apart, I really talk about, what my escalation protocol is, what my process is behind communication when problems happen. Brandon Bay said at one time, he said, I could sit here and tell you I'm 100%
on
time.
TJ, we're not even on. This isn't, you want to, fuck, I'm sorry to stop you, but I just looked.
We're live.
Not on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I got a pop-up notice. It says we're having trouble posting.
No, just YouTube.
You want to end it and start it again? Where we're at?
Yeah, yes. Will it go to the same link for everybody on YouTube?
No, I'm gonna end this one and send you a new one. Hey, we'll be right back. We're having technical difficulties. Hey, but we can pivot. Don't worry. We planned for this.
Buffalo.
We didn't. I'm gonna end this and I'll email you guys the next link.
All right.
It says I posted too much on LinkedIn. I haven't posted all day. Peace. I'll see you guys in a sec.